It is Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. And welcome to our weekly cult meeting, Wizard Wednesday. Channeling in from the Quantum Downs, this is your cult leader, Elf, and joining me are the other cult leaders.
Dota, what's going on?
Yo!
Animal Combo
Yo.
himself, Bear Snake,
Hey.
reporting for duty.
Welcome, guys.
Dota,
I thought you were rugging a minute ago. You came on and then you left. Is your internet working today?
Oh, as good as ever.
Okay. All right.
I actually was researching how to start your own ISP. You can do that. You can basically petition your town for the registration and pay for your own wires. And I think I might.
Are we starting a wizard internet service?
Yeah, exactly.
Are we starting a cult?
Magic ISP.
We have an internet wizard call. We might as well provide an internet wizard service.
Yeah.
Let's go sovereign, guys.
The fee is you have to sweep the floor every month.
Hey, I like clean floors. That's not a bad deal. We've got a big show today. We've got actually a bunch of cult questions which might honestly take up half the show. And then I think Bear has a lot to say. Bear's been making moves lately, but we'll put that off till after cult questions. And then of course, as everybody knows, I think next week is the 100th Wizard Wednesday. So stay tuned for more information about that as well.
Can we just talk about? And I know Dota, I know you want to clarify some stuff on what will happen. But can we just take a moment and think about 100 weeks in a row?
It's insane.
Do you know? I have a little anecdote. If you don't mind me telling a story, is that okay?
Yeah, go
please.
for it.
No, please.
Okay, so you guys worked on you guys created Forgotten Runes, and then you launched it and minted out. Elf that afternoon texts me. I get the famous text from Elf. I sold 10,000 NFTs, dude. And so and it was awesome. We talked for a while, whatever. And then I think a couple weeks later, you came over my house, Elf, and we did Wizard Wednesday. You did Wizard Wednesday from my house. And
I remember.
Remember that? We were sitting in my room, and the thing I remember the most is you used to spin the wheel for people. Remember the wheel spin?
Yeah.
What was that about?
Win a prize.
Yeah, it was win a prize. Yeah, I remember that. That's what I remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. It's funny you say that because Sharon asked a question today, which is we haven't had a contest in a long time. Any plans to have cult competition to win something fun? And yeah, we used to do contests. We used to do that silly ass wheel. Even before that, Dota, do you remember when we used to have trivia contests in the Discord?
I love those. Yeah, it was really fun.
They were so fun. Our Discord is so big now that I don't know if it would work, but maybe we should try it anyway.
I don't know. The crazier the better.
Yeah, basically the way it went is I would post 3 just trivia questions about wizards or magical history, and basically the first 3 people to give the 3 correct answers would win. And it was it was a frenzy after the questions got posted, because you'd have a winner in 30 seconds. But yeah, it was super fun. Sharon, to answer your question, we don't have any plans right now, but maybe we should. I mean, maybe that's actually sounds like a good 100th episode event to do.
Oh, that is fun.
But yeah, anyway, before I get to the other cult questions, I actually have a question for you guys. Vision Pro, can Magic Machine buy me one?
Yeah, sure.
It's too late. I already bought one for myself.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. It's not that easy to get. I'm having Nalgene look into it, so don't worry.
Why are they almost $4,000? What in the world?
Insane.
that hurts even like for me. Like if I think about buying that, I'm just like, no, it's too expensive. I don't have like I wouldn't spend enough time on it.
I'm having PTSD, honestly, from like the old VR company I had. It's
Right.
like it's like the same exact thing all over again.
Yeah.
I have a whole
Mhm.
spiel. We can save it for later if you want, but like it's like this whole concept of like this hype cycle of this new device. It's immersive. It's pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and I do believe in AR, and I do. I'm sure I put it on this headset. And it's amazing, but like all this hype gets worked up. They're really expensive, so the only people who really like use it are the devs who have the dev kits, and they're making all these things like almost for themselves, so they're not even like they're not making things that like the mass audience wants, and even if they were, not enough people have money to get it. And so I don't know, I think it's going to spur a ton of incredible like development, but then it's going to like fall on its ass and then like slowly rise back up, and as the cost of the goggles get less and less and less, I think all that fun development that's about to kick up will like come into play, if that
It
makes
does
sense.
feel like the final frontier for VR for like the decade, right? It's like it either works this time around or we get another like VR winter. And I've heard impressive things about it. People who've worn the Vision, they say that they like it, that it's really good. So, the hand tracking is interesting and new, and the fact that you can kind of like see out into your living room and like fade it in, I think is interesting. So yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm ready for people to try new things. I Somebody said something really interesting, which is around like a lot of people were disappointed that it still uses the same Windows like kind of UI, right? That there's like a window with all the icons, and it just looks like iMessages on your phone, but it's now iMessages on your wall. And like you can understand why they would do that because you don't want to like learn too much at once, and so it always takes a bit of time when you have a new device for people to learn like what the new iPad UI pattern should be, right? Touch was like that with desktop, and I just can only imagine VR is going to be the same.
I think the best use we've seen for the Vision Pro is the fun tool that Magus Wazir built to put the goggles on your
Yeah, good job, Woz.
It's already the killer app for the Vision Pro.
I read some. The last thing I'll say about it is, and I thought this was interesting, is that guy Robert Scoble was like, I am going to love this Apple headset, and it's never going to be further than 20 feet from my television screen or my couch. I
This
thought
is
that
the
was
thing,
interesting.
though, is Robert Scoble loved Google Glass, and in fact, there's a picture of like how he used to like wear it in the shower, and it's like ridiculous. So
That's
like
embarrassing.
I think if he tries to wear the Vision Pro in the shower, it'll just get a bit soppy.
Yeah.
God, we could talk for 20 more minutes about VR and Vision Pro, but let's move on. Okay, cult questions. Man, we've got a lot of them, so I'm just gonna jump right in. Thread is asking, why don't the Wizards take all this smoke and push it somewhere else? I think he's talking about the smoke that's happening in New York right now.
Yeah, it's from
Um,
the fires in Montreal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You know, Thread, I think we've got an AI super intelligence that is practically imminent now. We've got aliens buzzing around the planet. The Earth is on fire. You know, I don't know what the hell's going on right now, but I know that we need some magic. We need some wizards. We need it more than ever. And so, to me, the time has never been better to put your rune on the door. That's my response. Do you guys have a response to fire and aliens and imminent AI superintelligences?
Oh God! Don't
Dota,
even get
I know
don't
you
yeah.
Don't
were
even
into
get
the
me
aliens.
started.
Don't get me and Dota started on aliens because we just need to start a new spaces for that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're already unhinged, starting a cult. Like,
Okay. All right, we'll move on then. Okay, we got two 3D questions. Snoop Dogg is asking, where are we in the process of 3D Wizards, then Souls, then Warriors? Is there anything planned for after the Warriors, like 3D objects? And then Mala is asking, undesirables in 3D, will they be bipedal? Okay, let me just hit all this at once. Um, So we actually just finished modeling all the Wizards props, like the staffs and the items. They're all modeled, they're all textured. I don't know if we're going to launch with them yet. We might, but they're totally made. So they are imminent. The souls are still being modeled, and actually the beasts are actually in the concept phase, and my God, they look amazing. They are in humanoid form.
I didn't know you were going to tell them that.
Don't tell the
Yeah, I mean,
Beastmasters.
I think we've said it before. I mean, they kind of have to be, because I want the beast owners to be able to run around in the metaverse. And I think there's going to be some fun lore as to why the beasts are in humanoid form.
Well, since the Chimera's out of the bag, they are going to look amazing because they're one of ones. They're like, I mean, all the wizards are one of one, but like the beasts are, in particular, all of the traits are unique, and so they're sort of this like absolutely elite premier skin. They look so cool.
Yes. Yeah, Elf, you showed us the art, and I was like, this is the most legendary skin of all time. Like it totally hits. Like it looks so. It's like it's consistent with our world and our characters, but they really do stand out. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Mad props to Molly, who is doing the concepts of these. She just showed me the Ouroboros yesterday. You guys should see the Ouroboros in humanoid form. It's insane.
In terms of the props, I think like I wouldn't hold your breath to launch with the props. I mean, I think there's always a lot involved in terms of like QAing every single combination, and we have enough just to get the bodies and heads out. So we haven't decided final, but like I would expect I would say 80% chance we launch without the props.
Sure. Yeah, but that's like the downloads. Like when we're talking to Nifty Island, they're going to put some of those props in their game, so people will be able to play with them, but maybe not as a separate file for us.
Right.
Yep. And then as far as the undesirables of the souls, so those will not be in humanoid form. They will look pretty much like they do in the pixel art. And I think the way we're going to rig this might be very technical in the weeds, but I think we're just going to like parent it to the root joint. And so it like the pile of like bones, it'll literally just be a pile of bones like scooting around. So it'll be super fun. Or like the coffins, it's just going to be literally like an upright coffin just moving around. So yeah, I think that'll be compatible with all open world metas. But yeah, I mean, as far as the collection itself being in production, I mean, like I said, the wizards are already done. We've been saying that. The website, Dodo, do you want to speak on the 3D website?
Yeah, so we're working on the website. I want it to be like so beautiful. We all do. And we've got some we're basically like just grinding through some of the technical details of like getting the shaders to look right and getting the models up there. Magus Wazir is kind of taking the lead on the development there. Frog Eater has also helped a lot with kind of like the art, and we're working on that. And I think really it's actually the website mostly that's the blocker for us right now, is just like getting it to we feel like launching the 3D website is going to be a chance for us to reintroduce Forgotten Runes to the rest of the NFT market, right? There's a lot of people who look at the pixel art and they maybe it resonates with them, maybe it doesn't. But when you see the 3D models and what's possible there are a lot of people who will see the project in an entirely new light. And we only kind of get a chance to launch that once. So yeah, we're really putting a lot of polish on the 3D page. We won't have it ready by next week. I know there's been some rumors swirling around about how we're going to announce 3D next week. And we just simply won't have it done just because, we're just working on it. So know that, but it's going to look good.
Yeah.
Can you talk about sort of next week? Because I think
okay, let's talk about next week.
Yeah,
okay,
just like in terms of expectations.
For the 100th episode, we are going to do. We'll let the cat out of the bag. We are going to do a small airdrop. So we have a set of new Athenium items, and we are going to airdrop them to people who come to Wizard Wednesday. So you'll come to Wizard Wednesday. we'll start a little thread for the sort of duration of the episode. You drop your address in the thread in Discord, and then over the next couple of days, we will send you this item. So that will be the memorabilia, the big announcement of the 100th episode. Come to Wizard Wednesday, so that way you can give us your address and participate in this. It's just going to be a fun way that we can get some more storytelling items out into the world. And then the 100th episode is going to be so much fun.
I love that we're doing it. I think some people, were thinking about like a television show update or just some of these bigger things. There's so much stuff that's like that like is just missing the mark. I wish like the 100th episode was like in 3 or 4 weeks, but it's not. So, but anyway, there's going to be a lot of fun in the next 2 months. I think people are going to be pretty excited about finally releasing some info and some other things.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, just be sure to be there next Wednesday to get the airdrop. Invite your friends. Everybody who's there who puts their ETH address in the Discord will get an airdrop. And we've got like I think it's like 4 or 5 Athenium items, and you will be. I think the one that you get is just going to be chosen at random. Is that right, Dota?
Yeah, and it'll be in the same Athenium collection. Are we? It's holders only.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it should be.
Yeah, and it'll be like 1 per account, but we'll include holders of like other stuff, right? Like warriors, wizards. That's all fine.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, Matto is already hooking into ways to make it easier. So he's saying we'll do it with Dino. It can verify ownership, all of that stuff. So yeah, I think that'll be good.
Sweet. Should we do a 2-hour Wizard Wednesday next week?
Ooh. I think it'll run long.
It'll run long. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Because I do feel bad for people who are on the other side of the world and they might not be able to attend.
It's fine. Like if people hear about it and they want to like have their friend or like do something ahead of time, we'll work with people. Right? It's fine. Whatever.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's see. Pedro M. Kuna is asking, from a lore perspective, what is the most powerful entity in the Runiverse? And as a follow-up, what's the most magical place in the Runiverse? Yeah, this is a fun question. I'm
the most powerful being in the Runiverse, right?
What's that, Barry?
Aren't I the most powerful being in the universe?
No, you're far from it, my dude.
Oh.
Unless we're talking about opening doors, then you're pretty damn powerful.
True.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to go on mute for a couple of minutes.
No, it's an impossible question to answer. Number one, because I don't know everything about the Runiverse. Number two, how do you even judge like the most powerful? When I think about magical systems, it's not really a matter of like super powerful magic at the top and then bear magic at the bottom. It's more of like a paper rock scissors game where there it's just it's that sort of dynamic. I don't know how else to describe it. But like who are among like the most powerful elite? I mean, obviously the Ouroboros is extremely powerful. Obviously all the legendary beasts are extremely powerful. Then we've got like standouts like Merlin and the Keymaster. I mean, they're pretty legendary. But it's like it really depends on like how compelling your lore is. I mean, Matatsuki, like Mato's wizard isn't necessarily rare, but it's legendary. Like everybody knows Mato's magic, and Mato has like developed his wizard into just like a legendary being. So I would say that like translates to some pretty awesome power.
And I think that like part of the like antagonism in the Runiverse is this trade-off between the strengths and weaknesses between magic and technology. And so you would have these different areas where one is stronger than the other. And then even with within Magic, I think we'll be building out more of the affinity system. And affinities will have certain strengths against and certain weaknesses against other affinities as well. So that doesn't really answer like what is the most powerful force in the universe, but I think that gives you some of the power dynamics.
Yeah, that's true. I think that somebody asked the Loracle this very question, and the Loracle basically just said magic is the most powerful entity in the universe. Which that's also a really good answer. I always talk about how the universe is just a reflection of the real world, and if I could like draw a real world analogy. Magic takes many forms in this world as well. I mean, art and the magic of creation is certainly very powerful. Um, but technology itself is like seen as a form of magic in this world. I mean, how many times has Steve Jobs compared his tech to magic? Even in that Apple presentation yesterday, the term magic was used very often to describe the new products that Apple was releasing. Technology also gives like societies all over the world a degree of anxiety and a degree of sort of humble helplessness that's almost esoteric and not totally understandable. And this was even before AI started coming to us, and now with AI, it almost seems like a magical entity. So I think if you want to think about what magic is in the universe, you just think about what technology is the effect that it's having on our sort of civilization. Okay, VMark is asking, I was wondering if there are stories slash legends in the universe inspired by large scale events, similar to how some kind of flood most likely happened and inspired Noah's Ark, but one that originates in our present future. You mentioned the flood in Noah's Ark. That's a really fun example because you find these flood myths in all sort of uh, religions and mythologies all throughout the past, all in all cultures all over the world. The flood myth is repeated over and over. And you see similar events repeated over and over in all different cultures and stories. And so I think VMark, the answer is yes. There are events like that in the universe because the universe is just simply a perpetuation of the collective unconscious. Um, you know, that said, one major event, obviously, that we all witnessed was the summoning of the wizards themselves. In June 30th, 2021. That was a major event in the universe that connected all of us with our wizard avatars. I mean that may be one of the most historical events in all of the universe. Another event, of course, is the singularity. Um, and then the Great Burning was a huge event. Um, but yeah, I think there's probably many more. Ask the Oracle. Okay, here's a question for you, Dota, from Matatsuki. Goblin Town updates. What can you tell us?
Still in the works. This week we were working on.
Wait, Dota, I don't want to cut you off, but there's a lot of people in here who I don't think know what Goblin Town is. So will you just like describe the game first and then give the update?
What's up, new people? Hello. Welcome to Wizard Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so Goblin Town is a fully-ish on-chain game that started out as a sort of Settlers of Catan and has kind of shaped itself more into something along the lines of like Risk or maybe even some of the early Warcraft games, where it's basically this real-time game where you build structures to earn resources and then use those resources to build your armies and battle the armies around you. So it's looking incredible. We're working with the Pixel Shop and Sumis to create this artwork, and it looks so amazing. We've got a handful of devs here. SPZ is one of them, myself, Niski, and we're working on this game. It is something that when we started this project, I thought that it would take about 3 months, that I thought that we would have it done in December. It is now June, and we still do not have it done. So it has been quite a bit more of an effort than we intended, but all that to say, yeah, it's still in progress. We'll let you know. I think one of the things about it is the drop, right? Like one of the things about this game is making sure that we kind of like release it in an environment where the drop does really well, because the more people that play, the more fun the game will be, and of course, like the more sort of like success that we have for Magic Machine to sort of complete our goals. And so I don't think that I'm like particularly motivated that even if we sort of had it done today, I don't really know that today would even be the day to drop it, because of just, there hasn't been very many drops that have really even done the level of success that we would sort of need for it to make sense. So we're still working on it, but I think it's not that it's backburnered on development, but I think that the launch date is certainly undefined because it's important to us that sort of the market is ready for it. So yeah, working on it.
So you're saying Goblin Town is late. So you're saying
Super late.
that we have fallen victim to the same thing that literally every game studio falls victim to.
Golly. Yeah, never build a game. It's the worst thing ever, and you like hate it by the end, and it's not good enough, and you hate your life. So
And it's absolutely impossible to gauge when you'll finish it.
one of the things that's really interesting about about a game too is there's sort of this like minimum required complexity. Like you can't launch half a game, you have to launch the full game, and particularly in crypto it has to be completely done and also have no bugs, or else you get hacked and it blows up. And so so we've got a few contractors helping us, which then has freed me up to sort of work on things such as the Loracle, and a few other things that we have in our top secret laboratory, that can kind of be shipped at a bit more of a regular cadence. We've talked about those, but all that to say, Goblin Town is still in the works, but there's no sort of like deadline for when we're going to launch it anymore. We're just leaving that undefined.
We're all excited to scree.
I basically just want to see the NFT market like having buyers, right? Like the charts need to look better than they look right now before we drop something of that size.
I agree with that. Yes, the weather needs to be better, but I will say, like, just looking at the development of the game and the art, I think there's a chance that it can create a bit of a meta on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to say something similar, Bear. And like Dota, I agree. We don't want to release in a bad market. But the current state of the market. I mean, the whole obsession with meme coins, and maybe that meta is over. But what I learned from that meta is people are bored and they just want to do they want something stupid to keep their attention. And what better to give to bored people than a DJing game with yield farming? So I don't know.
Well, this is the problem though with that, like where that breaks down is that the meta is like send your ETH to someone who promises nothing in return explicitly.
Yeah.
And so like
let's just do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's just do that instead. Easier.
That's easier than making a game. Jeez. Everybody on this spaces, send us ETH.
Yeah, Dota.eth.
No, elfjtroll.eth.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll send you even more nothing in return.
And so Goblin Town is actually a lot more complicated than that, because you look at it and you're like, oh shoot, there's a hexagon grid and I have to like strategize about whether or not I like, build an army or build a settlement. And so I'm not quite sure that crowd is like ready for it. Whatever. They'll come back around.
I hear you. Fair enough.
Big Blop says this is the perfect market to drop Goblin Town in. And Cheddar Bob says DGen's going to DGen. So, okay.
Yeah, so just finish the goddamn game.
Yeah, exactly. Just code instead of looking at ordinals.
Just ask ChatGPT to finish it. Damn, dude.
Oh, I have tried. And that's one of the things that make me not so scared about ChatGPT is like it still can't finish Goblin Town. So
yeah. Okay, one final question from the infamous Schlee. And Schlee, this will actually, I think, set up the next things we want to talk about. Schlee is asking, what's what's the next thing that's closest to be ready to be pushed out by Magic Machine?
I'm not going to
Um,
tell you.
yeah,
I'm not going to tell you.
we've got another secret project that we're not going to mention just yet. But uh, Bear and I did a space last night, and I don't know about you, Bear, but like as we were telling Keegan about all the stuff that Magic Machine has built and is building, I felt like, man, this guy must think we're lying because we're just too good. We just ship too much.
You
Wait,
know,
when
I
was
meant to.
this?
I was so tired after that. I literally collapsed after that space. But I meant to message you. Yeah, I got off that space. I'm like, we just talked for an hour about, and like we didn't even cover anything. Like I felt
I
bad
know.
bringing up like,
I
oh, like
know.
yeah, the TV show. Oh, can we also bring up the comic? Oh, there's also like this video game and this
Yeah.
other video game, and he was like, what? But
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like total bullshit.
I know. No, we talked like we spent a good like I don't know 20 minutes on the AI and the Loracle. Then we talked about 3D models. Then we talked about the comic, the trailer, the TV show, the two freaking video games that we're building, and we didn't even mention Trick or Treat or Sacred Flames or Ponies or everything that the community is building. Um, and so yeah. So Dota, we can't mention yet the other thing that we're working on.
Nah, it's day zero. I love that we did all those things, but I think the 2 year mark is like a good point to like stop and reflect and be like, okay, what have we done to move forward tokenomics? Like, what have we done to kind of move forward this, to really ship? And so I'm like, I'm super impressed with everything our team has done, but then I'm also like trying to think like, okay, what's the next meta? What's the next mechanic? What's the next like content that we can put out to just like take it to the next level? Because now we like clearly have something that people love. And so how do we, what got you here won't get you there. And so that's something to think about a lot.
Yep. I guess all I would say is just keep writing in the book of lore, just keep building, just keep creating.
Yes, everything that we do, everything that we're working on, I mean, not Goblin Town, but besides Goblin Town, it is based on the Book of Lore, right? The Loracle makes everything so accessible. And like there, these handful of other projects that we're working on, they all draw on the Book of Lore because I basically see the future of this project as like proving out the idea that you can create a decentralized IP where the creators can benefit from it economically. They have this decentralized IP where everybody who participates in the system can also participate in the value accrual. And I think that like how that works out, just like, in terms of like everyone's incentives, everyone's mechanics, the law is still something that like we're all navigating. But the core idea is that like, this project is built out of looking at, Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, and how there's so many creators who build value into those franchises only to be sort of like captured by the creators, right? You can't. It's funny, you don't even think about the fact that you might be able to like contribute Harry Potter art and make money on it, because that's so against anything that like the IP machine typically lets you do, that people artists don't even think that that's a possibility, right? It doesn't even cross your mind. And so I want to build this like flagship example of an IP where creators can come and then monetize their creations in a way that's like self-reinforcing, that network effect where when I create something, it makes what you created more valuable. It's never been tried before. And so, well, those are the things that we're trying to focus on for this next year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this we said it last night in that space, but you look at these other media franchises, and they are built on generally like one Genesis piece of creative content. So like George Lucas and the entire Star Wars franchise, that is built on the three films. And so while we don't have like three films or we don't have like a novel series, what we do have is 4,000 pages in a book of lore that's ever growing, and that is the creative content upon which the entire franchise empire is built.
And the tools
Your
and the
creative,
tools, now we can synthesize all of that into like a collective consciousness, because it's like a different thing when you're like manually looking through 4,000 stories. It's different when you package it into something like the Loracle and you have this LLM to synthesize.
Yeah, the LLM is just part of something that's built on top of that creative data, that lore. But your lore, it influences the show and the comic and the Loracle and the LLM and just everything. And you will be appropriately credited for it, and I guess paid for it if I can put it that way. Okay, Bear.
You can.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We're still working on that whole infrastructure, but yes, and we'll have more information about that later. Bear, you have been working on a fun side project, which you debuted. I think what was it, Tuesday morning or?
Oh, Game Changers. I thought you were talking about the comic. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, sure, the comic's just a little side project. That's cool.
Well, well, actually, do you want to talk about the comic or Game Changers? Whichever one.
All right, well, let's just let's talk about the comic real fast, and we don't have
Sure.
to do.
Can you add us as hosts? Can you add us as co-hosts?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, you guys rugged again. What the hell? Anyway, Bear, tell us what you got.
Okay, so as you guys know, we have this 10-issue comic book series coming out. We have a great publisher, and it'll be in stores all around the world. And we finally have this really interesting track into the regular world of normies and people who don't know anything about Web3. And so the whole idea for us. The whole idea for us is that this is there's a version of expanding your IP and talking to the wrong people that just doesn't work, right? But this concept of people who would inherently enjoy the world and the creativity of Forgotten Runes, of this fantasy IP, talking to comic book people who collect comics, who read comics, those are our people. So I think it's this really strong swing into a non-NFT, non-Web3 community that I think will have strong ties. And so the way we're looking at the book, and we'll have more details soon, but it's how by the time, the way I think about it is by the time you read this comic, which is just amazing on its own right, and you get to the back cover, I want to present 3 to 5 ways to bring that reader further into our world, right? And so this, it looks like we're gonna be putting codes to the Runeverse game in there. We're also having some interesting conversations around the Fortnite editor and that new Epic tool. I love this idea of read comic, play comic. And so, and then there's, we'll have other things in there. But my point is this, I just get excited because it's so hard for Web3 projects to break out of this, of this moated island we all live on. And I just see this comic as such, it's such an olive branch that's perfectly been pruned to bring in people that don't necessarily care about Web3, but care about the brand. And I'm just really excited. And I think, I'm learning a lot about the ins and the outs of the comic book industry and what moves the needles, and how many. Of course, my brain goes to okay, well, how many comics do we have to sell to be the number one comic? Because I'm a sociopath and I don't like to sleep. But I feel really, really good about all the things we're going to build into this comic because it's our first chance to sort of speak to the outside world. Anyway, that's my rant.
No, dude, I agree. There's tons. It's a bridge to the non-NFT audience. With comics in particular, like you said, there's a lot of overlap between people who love comics and people who love the fantasy genre. I mean, almost every comic book store I go into, there's a table in the side of kids playing Magic the Gathering. So, it's definitely an audience that would naturally sort of love Forgotten Runes. And then in addition to all that, it's like I always say, what I love about the comic is it's sort of a proof of concept for the idea that we can use stories from the Book of Lore that the community created in these larger media expressions. I think some people from the legacy media industry, they hear about what we're doing and they're like, no, that sounds too hard. You can't do it. And now I can say, yes, we can. Here's a physical comic where we just did it. So this is the proof of concept. So yeah, the comic is so exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, one of the things that I would also really love to do is to have some way to kind of like transition folks from the physical into digital. And so we're exploring a lot of different ways that like what's the best option, right? It might not be the best thing to require someone, create a MetaMask and then like pay gas on ETH-L1. That's just like impossible, right? And so, what are some of the ways that we might be able to sort of like lower that barrier to entry, and then have something in the comic that lets people experience their first digital asset? So, yeah, we're working through some of those details as well.
Yep. And then Barrett, tell us about your side project with Board Elon.
Oh yeah, so quick plug on I mean it is a Magic Machine show. We just launched the first episode. We hosted the first episode of Game Changers. It's a Web3 gaming show. Board Elon is hosting with me and the Forgotten Runes account. And it's exciting. I think it's a really great way to facilitate conversations between builders. I think a lot of spaces are set up in a way that you have like the repeatable hosts of the show, and they like bring on one founder and they talk about what they're doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think our approach to this is, let's bring a bunch of projects like this first episode. Let's bring a bunch of projects who are like building on-chain TCGs, right? And let's facilitate conversation between those people. And yeah, I think it's a different take. It's exciting. Obviously, it helps create even more awareness for Forgotten Runes. And what's nice is it's also a platform to take community projects outside of the games that we're building and on a pedestal. So we had Give a Hoot from Runes TCG up with Parallel and Final Form. And so, yeah, we'll be doing it for the next like 8 or 9 weeks. We'll see how it goes. And if everybody's liking it and we want to keep doing it, we'll just keep rolling with it. But definitely like booking some really really amazing guests. We're trying to keep a pretty high bar for who comes on, so keep a lookout for it.
I loved that you had Give a Hoot and the Runes TCG up there right next to the parallel cards. I mean, Runes TCG is just fantastic. It's one of my favorite cult projects.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny, Bear, because like in the Discord, I'm often like inadvertently tagged into all these other guests that you're trying to corral for the next episodes, and as I'm watching you do it, it's like really I'm realizing like, God damn, Forgotten Runes is collaborating with a ton of other teams. Like, for example, like the World Wide Web 3 guys, Nifty Island, Bisonic, of course, for the Runiverse game, a few others, but it's just like we're just rapidly spreading. The whole metaverse strategy is just a real exponential strategy. So I'm glad that Game Changers is a place where all of that can be talked about.
Same.
Bear, did we lose you?
No. I had nothing to add. I'm happy we're doing it, and Bourne is a fantastic host, and he's been in the gaming industry a really long time, so it's nice to have someone who has that experience, and it's just good conversation. I think it's important to be producing this kind of content that like elevates the audience and like forces. I'm all for spaces where people are screaming and like throwing stones. It's fun, it's entertaining in its own right. But like, I also think it's on the shoulders of builders and also like these content creators or influencers, whatever you want to call them. It's up to them. Like a lot of people complain about what's going on. Well, like, okay, maybe don't complain. Why don't you just create stuff that like forces people to elevate, what they're interested in listening to and educating. So I think this is like one attempt at doing that.
I also love that Jitsi was a main voice on that show because I don't think we hear enough from Jitsi.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm gonna have one of his mortal enemies on the show on purpose, just to see if I can
Oh
start.
no.
Just so I can see if he can even like contain himself.
I already love it. Who
Yeah,
is it?
that sounds
Give us a
fun.
taste.
Yeah.
I'm not. There's no way I'm saying it right out loud.
Why? Because it's a surprise,
Yeah, it's a surprise.
or because you don't want to start shit immediately?
I don't want to start shit immediately, and it's a
So it's both.
surprise.
Dude, okay, yeah. Dramatic spaces are the best. Just ask Josh. Okay. Uh, there's another fun thing going on called Scoordinals. Is that what it's called,
Squirtnals,
Donna?
Squirtnals. Okay, so yeah, so Squirtnals was made by Brennan.eth, who is a wizard and very, very talented. It's let's call it a sort of like inspired by Chromie Squiggles project that is Ordinals on Ordinals. Uh, I saw he basically posted in the Wizards Alpha chat. I don't know, a while back. I don't know exactly, and I know that a lot of wizards were able to kind of get in through that. I was lame and I didn't. I actually had to ask them to get in like this morning through like another door. But so yeah, so I actually minted one this morning. But the Squirtnals are really cool. They're probably my favorite Ordinals project of the day. The idea basically is that you're able to pick a hash, which then is used as sort of the seed to generate the different squiggles. So well, it's really fun. So check it out. I don't, if you can get in on the mint list, you should try. I think how you do it is you like join their Discord. I don't know. I'm not trying to shill it necessarily, but I just love that people who are wizards are creating really, really cool things. I can talk a little bit more about ordinals. I think like just the state of ordinals. If right now, if you haven't been paying attention, they're still pretty active. So one of the things that's a little bit confusing when you look at the ordinals marketplace is that they invented a new set of BRC20 tokens, which are basically these like text files that describe the tokens. Have you seen that?
I've
Yeah,
heard about it, but I don't know what it is.
yeah.
So BRC20s are like ERC20s, right? They're like a token, but they're implemented in like the dumbest way you've ever heard of, which is like you upload a text file to Bitcoin, just being like, I made up, Dogecoin, and there's 10,000 of them, and then I add, and then if I want to send some to you, I upload a new text file that says like, oh, I sent Bear 1,000 of these coins. And as often happens in software, like the dumbest thing that could work actually does work because it's very easy to understand. And so it's totally inefficient, totally slow, kind of ridiculous in how it's implemented, and people love them. So the BRC20s. So when you look at ordinals, one of the things you know is that people kind of they talk about the inscription number a lot, which is how early you were. And I think that there are 10 or maybe 11 million inscriptions at the moment. Um, so for context, the shadow hats that you and I made, those were in the under the first 1,000. So very, very early by these standards. But actually, of these ordinals, about 10 million of them are probably BRC20s, and or like BRC20 like related transactions. And then there's only about, I'm gonna say like 850,000, 900,000. Like I don't think there's actually like a million images of ordinals that have been inscribed quite yet. And so, but what you're actually seeing is that the marketplaces are actually moving. I mean, there was a day last week, I think, where the volume on ordinals was actually like about equivalent to the volume on like OpenSea.
Wow.
So the main marketplace for ordinals is Magic Eden. And they had like 100 Bitcoin worth of volume yesterday, like in the last 24 hours, which is like crazy, crazy. Um, so, well, I think what's interesting is that you're seeing is that it's not just like some of the early narratives was just like, oh, how early is your inscription number? How early is it? Sub 1K, sub 10K, or whatever. Which like I hold a lot of sub 10K, so I love that, and I'm biased, whatever. But one of the things you're finding is some newer projects are coming out where people don't really care that much about the inscription numbers. So, for example, Mulan did one called Abstract Ordinals or Abstract Ordinals. I don't have any. I wish I did. And there are these like really beautiful sort of like abstract pixel art inscriptions, and people really like them. Like they're going for 0.3, 0.5 of a Bitcoin on secondary right now. Part of that is because they're inscribed on like so-called rare sats, but whatever. That's the main reason is because people like the art, people like the project, and they're not that concerned the fact that they were like inscribed around like 9 million or whatever. So all that to say, I basically think that what you're seeing is a bit of a maturation of the ordinals market. I think it's still worth paying attention. I have no idea if like number goes up in the near term, but it's like definitely something that is like, it was really hot on Twitter back in like let's say February, and then it kind of like eased up, and then people were curious like, oh, are ordinals over? And I think what you're starting to see is it sort of like find a bit of stability. So yeah, I'm still super interested in them, and they're worth looking at.
Dude, I have a tech question about ordinals, and maybe it's too in the weeds, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So basically, an ordinal, or let's just say a Bitcoin NFT, is when you attach a picture to a Satoshi. That's basically it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And you once made an analogy where you said, okay, like one Bitcoin is fungible to another Bitcoin. One like a paper dollar is fungible to a paper dollar. But
Yep.
if you draw a picture on that paper dollar, now it's actually kind of different, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so like if Andy Warhol drew a picture on a dollar and then some random dude on the street drew a picture of the dollar on a dollar, the one that Andy Warhol drew on is actually now suddenly worth a lot of dollars.
Right.
Okay, so here's my question. Is it possible that somebody could like accidentally spend a Satoshi that has an image attached to it, just in the same way that somebody could accidentally spend a dollar with an Andy Warhol drawing on it?
100%. And so you have to be really careful. That's why you have to use these like special ordinals wallets. That's why you have to use Hero or Xverse or the ordinal command line tools, because of that exact issue, which is like a regular Bitcoin wallet, like let's say Sparrow, if you're not paying attention, will actually just like spend your sats like any other sat, and then it's like just including your Andy Warhol dollar in the change drawer at the gas station.
So like theoretically, it could happen that someone buys Bitcoin from Coinbase and they accidentally buy a really valuable ordinal. Could that theoretically happen?
So yeah, sort of. There's like technical details in terms of like the splitting and joining that happens, where that's like very unlikely, but yes. Another thing that people are doing is sort of like your dollar bill actually has a serial number on it, and because it's all on chain, we actually know the serial numbers of the Bitcoin that Satoshi himself passed around, right?
Right.
And so people are kind of valuing, saying like, oh, Hal Finney like sent this Satoshi to somebody in like 2009, and so like they think that's very valuable. To me, I have a hard time getting excited about it, but like whatever, if you like that, go for it.
I think it's pretty exciting, actually. Not that I would collect it because it's probably out of my price range, but I think it is interesting.
Yeah.
And then I guess just one more question. Like, you talked about the ordinal market heating up, but I wouldn't say it's like reached a fever pitch by any stretch. My explanation for this is just the marketplaces to trade ordinals are still a little, I guess, not user friendly. Do you see that shifting anytime soon, or maybe Magic Eden is like already an answer to that?
Yeah, Magic Eden's pretty good, and if you use like Hero or Xverse, the experience is like not that different from MetaMask. So like it's doable. It's slow. Bitcoin is really slow, and that's very annoying.
Yeah.
But it's also a bit like beautiful too, because, for example, I think I talked about this before. One of the things that you see with BRC20s, okay, so one of the things you see with ERC20s is that like someone launches a shitcoin and then like dumps it super fast, or like a whale has like a huge amount of the supply and then they just like start to dump it. Well, in ordinals, one, because of the fact the blocks are 10 minutes long, like so if you have a large enough position, sometimes it'll take like weeks to unwind. Just literally, that's like how long it takes for you to sell all the ordinals that you have, and that you don't really have this same sort of like instant minute, like second by second, like price view that like for example on Ethereum, the prices are changing, let's say every 15 seconds for every block. Whereas in Bitcoin, you actually can't see the prices changing, but every 10 minutes. And so that is a completely different like market psychology in terms of like it's much slower to move up, it's much slower to move down. You see the similar thing with sort of like collections. The liquidity is obviously quite thin, and so the volatility is a lot lower.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Bear, do you have any ordinals questions?
Well, I do, but I'm gonna have to sidebar with Dota about it because it's helping me personally how to figure something out. But the other question I'd love to ask your opinion on Dota is, there's this whole concept of like a low inscription number and whether or not there's value in just sort of being under 1,000, being under 5,000, being under 10,000. The fact that it's scaled already so quickly, like how do you feel about people who value just the inscription number?
For me, though, it always matters. I missed out on a lot of sort of like I don't know, let's call it like Machiavellian money early on by not minting the like blatant ripoffs and low effort projects, right? Like there are people who value a low inscription a lot more than I do. And so I skipped a lot of projects that I didn't like for that reason. Um, I think that like good art on sub 1K, sub 10K are like totally grails, right? Like, um, yeah. So I value them quite a lot, and I have a few, and I like them. But that said, one of the things I love, and I would say that probably my attitude maybe changed around this week, which is like we're far enough away from that in terms of inscription numbers. That inscription number doesn't matter anymore, and now it's just really like, is the art good? Is it fun? Like it's not totally against the. Like I would say that maybe in like let's say April or whatever, if we'd said, oh, should we do a Forgotten Runes like Ordinals collection or whatever, I would have said like, no, it's kind of lame now. I don't want to do it. Now I feel like it could be fun, right? Like it's like not really dilutive. It's a new audience. This isn't alpha. We're not planning anything, but like I could see doing an Ordinals collection right now. There's like a lot of teams that are releasing new projects that are super cool, and it's a whole new market with a different vibe. So I don't know. Like a good project is a good project.
My final ordinals question is actually for the cult. Do you hate when we talk about ordinals? Some of them do.
I don't think
Yeah.
it should have hate. I think it's like part of the evolution of the larger space. Don't hate.
I agree, Bear, but hey, ordinals piss a lot of people off, not just in the cult, but like everywhere.
I get angry all the time that I didn't get like a Bitcoin punk or whatever and make a ton of money. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Only 2 people answered. Snoop Dogg is interested, and then Urshan basically doesn't care. So, all right.
All right.
Oh, and Oz likes it. All right, sweet. I think.
I just think that like one of the things about ordinals that's interesting is this idea that it's slower, this idea that it's on Bitcoin and something to do with your funds there, especially if you're a Bitcoin believer, and also this idea that typically the projects don't really have roadmaps. That it sort of feels like this return to sort of, there's no there. As far as I know, there's really no like royalties. Maybe Magic Eden supports royalties, but in general, the expectation is that you're basically creating an art like a painting that you collect for its own sort of inherent value. And so I really, really like that. It feels simpler. Like you can't do as much as you can on Ethereum. So that has its own sort of role, I suppose. And so, I think that like some deeper reasons for Bitcoin over Ethereum would be something like as we start to see governments take more of an offense towards cryptocurrency, I think that Bitcoin is probably better positioned than even Ethereum to kind of like withstand that sort of assault. Like my hope is that they both are able to, but I think Bitcoin is more. And so, that provides its own kind of like provenance. The fact that all the art is on chain instead of Ethereum, where it's mostly off chain. So there's a lot of interesting ideas there.
Yeah, our stuff's on chain though.
Yeah,
Dota, if Gary Gensler brings down the hammer, I hope you have got the button ready to instantly transfer all wizards to ordinals. Just press the button.
Now you're
I
going to make
don't.
people angry. Now
I
people
don't
are
have
going to
that
get angry.
power. I don't have that power.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Let me arm wrestle him. Like if I win the wrestling, I bet I could beat him in an arm wrestling match.
You know, Bear, I
could
actually
beat
think
him
you
in an
could.
arm wrestling match.
Yeah.
Why are you guys laughing?
I'm only laughing because Bear's laughing.
I'm laughing because, yeah, actually, I'm not going to answer that. It's a trap.
All right, let's talk about cult content. Thanks to the legendary Tanya Del Rio, I believe this is week, maybe week 20. Is that what we're at?
Tanya,
for the Cult Content Chronicle.
How much cult content chronicle there is every single week. Thank you for putting this together. I'm never going to stop saying that.
Yeah, no, Tanya's the best, literally the best. And so let's start right off with a really nice piece from the one and only Chetta B. Chetta B combined wizards and Legos and made his mushroom head wizard. And this Lego piece, it looks like a digital. Is there like some kind of digital Lego app out there? There's got to be.
No, but there should be. Well, maybe there is. I don't know.
This piece Chetta made looks digital. I don't know. Whatever. It's still awesome. Okay, speaking of awesome, I think an artist that we have all just grown to love, Marco Fine, has three pieces in the Cult Chronicle. One of Tad Major's Warrior, a Wizard by Flesh Machine, and then Marco Fine shared a really fun progress video of a pony. And it's just like, damn, these wizards are awesome. I mean, Marco Fine's style. I think I've asked before, but I'm just like, Marco Fine, can you please just draw every single head and every single body, and then we'll redo the whole collection in this style. I mean, the Sphinx
by Marco Fine.
Yeah, there you go. This little Sphinx that Marco drew, I just love it. So yeah, awesome Marco Fine. And then speaking of more awesome, another super prolific artist in the cult, Daniela Illustra, is shared a drawing video of a warrior. Love Daniela's work. There's a new Twitter account called Suggested Lore, and I think Adept Yagdo made it. And from what the Twitter account says, it's like it's suggested lore for wizards who have no lore, which is a fun concept. And so Tanya has shared this piece, actually for a wizard who does have lore, Magus Vizier of the Mount. But yeah, really fun account. The next piece is by Pose Producer, who did some really fun pixel animation. Maddow is working on a 3D model of the wizard Magus Devon. Super fun. We mentioned Waz's Vision Pro Wizard overlay at the top of the hour. Dota, have you even done that yet?
I got a custom one. Somebody made one of Dota for me.
Nice.
So yes.
Bear, have you done it?
Yeah.
Which thing?
Looks amazing in there.
The Vision Pro Wizard overlay that Waz made.
No, I haven't done it. I need to.
You need to do it, Bear.
I know I'm slacking.
Okay, Wise Sam did a really fun meme, you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about, with Jitsy's tiny little baby kobold next to basically Gigas Chad kobold. And then Castamere has done a, geez, how do I describe this? A profane version of, I don't even want to say the name, but I'm going to say it anyway. Mommy Nami Naz. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
You know, as much as Castamir's and the whole Moron Capital treatment of Little Nas, as much as it sometimes I guess makes me uncomfortable, I don't think any other crew could have done not the Nosferatu better. Let me put it that way.
What comes out of the Morons is just art in every sense. Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you know, this is the thing about AI. It's like, you know, AI, I don't think would have had just like the sort of feral creativity that I see coming out of Moron Global. It's just, it's just great.
I think, yeah, and I think it's important that anyone who hears that know that that's a compliment.
Yes. Did it seem not so?
I just think if someone doesn't know you as well, like that term feral, it could go either direction. And I just wanted to be like super explicit that like, no, coming from Elf, that's like a compliment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you call me feral all the time, and
You
like
love
me.
animals.
Okay. But Bear, when I say it to you, I don't mean it as a compliment.
And part of the problem
Yes.
is this idea that it creates this sort of like sterile, like cliche artwork, and then what you have from the Morons, right? It's just like so clearly hand and human created.
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, Tabitha has been doing a really a fun series of AI art. And like, even though I talk shit on AI, I don't, I've never suggested to not use it. In fact, if you find that it makes you more creative, then definitely use it. And Tabitha has been putting it to great use lately, using it to illustrate scenes all around the Runiverse. But lately, Tabitha used it to illustrate Bear, your new show, Game Changers.
I sent it to Board, and he was so stoked that someone had made it. He was like, "Oh my gosh, someone made this!" It was very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, fantastic. But I think that's it for the Cult Chronicle, which means that may be it for Wizard Wednesday. You guys got anything else?
I'm good.
I'm good to go.
Bear, when is the next Game Changers episode?
Every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific.
And then finally, yes, next week is the 100th Wizard Wednesday. Damn it, you guys have to be there, because you're going to get an airdrop if you do.
Oh, also, yes, come to Wizard Wednesday, but I'm going to be at 3XP, the Web3 Gaming Conference, tomorrow and Friday. So if you're there, just DM me.
There you
Also, I'm
go.
just going to be at my house doing my taxes. So if you want to do taxes, come to my house.
I'm going to be at my house as well, working on other stuff. And with that, this has been Elf Dota Bear Snake, channeling out from the Quantum Downs.
Bye.
G in, everybody.